Feels good to be here. Feels good to be at home. And I'm happy to see all your smiling faces today. I need everyone to do me a favor. On the count of three, will everyone say yes? 1, 2, 3.
Yes.
So if my physical therapist happens to show up, or better yet, if you see her afterwards and she says, did he use his cane and did he sit in the chair? I just need you to say yes, right? So we're all good. All right. So I'm super happy to be here. So much of my development happened in this building. I can literally remember standing right over in this spot with my white pants on. I had this real heavily patterned jacket on, the clip-on bow tie and everything. And that's one of the great memories that I have of St. Mark in one of our Easter programs. I did Christmas programs here, with the Sunday school here. And I learned how to be a good human being here. So I'm happy to be back here today to share this message. I was going to say forgive me for sitting because I am supposed to be sort of sitting. I just had my hip replaced a couple of weeks ago, and my physical therapist and my doctor just keep saying, rest and heal, rest and heal, rest and heal. I've heard it so much, and I'm like, I got it. And the other day, I had a good idea because she seemed like she was in a good mood, and her guard was down. So I looked at her while she was over at my place doing a nursing checkup, and I pointed out the window, and I said, do you mind if I walk to that coffee shop that you could literally see 2 blocks away? And the whole mood changed. She had this scowl on her face. She looked at me. She said, heck no, you can't walk to that coffee shop. And I'm like, man, I just messed up everything. I thought I had the right moment, but I obviously didn't. And it was interesting that she said it because there were like pauses in her statement. It was like, heck, fill in the blank. No, you can't walk to that coffee shop, right? So that first blank in my mind, I'm like, okay, maybe she's calling me a fool or something like that. I hope I can say fool in church. If not, I apologize. But the second blank, I won't even try to fill in because I can only imagine what that was. But I learned my lesson, and I listened, and I have my chair here in case I need my chair. All right, things are going well with my healing, though. I'm very happy that I'm even able to walk to that coffee shop. But it's all good. So needless to say, I was scared to ask her about that chair, but I'm going to go ahead and stand anyway. So my energy and strength are still far from where they need to be, but I'm happy to be here for this service. As a matter of fact, I feel like I had to be here because God put something on my heart when I was here in May, and I was standing about 10 feet from where I am right now, and I'd like to share that with you. The scripture for today comes from the book of Acts. It is specifically Acts 13:36, and it reads, for when David had served God's purpose in his own generation, he fell asleep. Earlier we heard that after he had served his own generation, he died. But when David had served God's purpose in his own generation, he fell asleep. Now I'll circle back to our scripture, but let me first explain what happened in May, going back to why I felt I needed to be here today. This past May, my cousin and a St. Mark member, who many of you know, Alvin Green, passed away from stomach cancer. He was an Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity brother of mine and beloved by everyone he touched. And although I look forward to his homegoing service, seeing it as a celebration of a life very well lived, I struggled with taking part in the fraternity Omega service this time. Now, I had done many of these in the past, and they were never a problem, but I was struggling on this particular day with the repercussions of my own cancer surgery from just 6 months before. And since then, I often find myself in unpredictably emotional states that I'd never experienced. I cry a lot. I might cry today.
Okay. All right. You got it.
And I didn't want to cry on Alvin's day. That was his day. So for those of you who don't know, the Omega service is typically performed before the homegoing service begins by members of the fraternity. The Omega service gives fraternity brothers an opportunity to pay tribute to one of our brothers publicly. And I always look forward to them. But this day I was struggling to muster up the energy to come to church. My struggle had nothing to do with Alvin either. Alvin was my guy. He was everybody's guy. If you knew him, you know that he was smart, he was fun, he was witty, he was a dedicated husband, he was a dedicated father, son, brother, servant of this church, and definitely a servant of God. So my concern was having one of those unpredictable emotional moments, which I just had, during somebody else's time, during his wife's time, his kids' time, and at a place where it was most likely to happen, my spiritual home. At the church where my relationship with God was formed, and the church that I know all during my struggle, St. Mark was praying for me, and I'm grateful to all of you for that. Amen. So I arrived late on that day. I figured, they'd be up here, service be going on, and I'd show up late. Instead, when I got here, they had just finished lining up back there. I walked up, they gave me a program, put me in line, we marched in, and I'm thinking, oh boy, here we go. So just as I expected, just as we started the service, I lost it. I'm standing right here on the floor. I'm crying, I'm shaking, my nose is running. I saw tissue right there on the front pew, but I'm like, I don't even know if I could make it there. So I tried to play it cool and keep myself calm. And unbeknownst to most in here, and unbeknownst to me even, my sisters were both sitting in the second pew. They recognized what was going on, and they're both texting one another like, okay, if he falls that way, you get him. If he falls that way, you get him. So at least I know, and I found out after the fact, that I was covered in that particular situation. Amen. So I had a challenging moment, and maybe the moment was survivor's guilt. I'm not sure. I'm still trying to figure that out. But I couldn't compose myself, and I found myself asking God, why? Why did that young brother, that young father, that young husband have to go? And why was I still here when my cancer was less than 10 inches away from his cancer, anatomically speaking? And just as clear as I was having that moment and struggling through it, God gave me an answer that I believe ties into that scripture today. He had served his purpose. Alvin had served his purpose. And as tough and as difficult as that is to accept, he did. Just like David served his purpose in the scripture and fell asleep. Now I, however, still have more serving to do. And that is the title of my sermon today. Well, not sermon, I'm not a pastor. What am I talking about? It's your fault. I heard you say that so many times. My talk today is more serving to do. And I felt God saying that's why you're still here, Derek. You have more serving to do. That's why I woke you up this morning, Derek. You have more serving to do. That's why I had all those brothers still standing in the back of the church when you got here, because you have more serving to do. And I embrace that. And I'm going to go forward with that and understand that I definitely do. So that message I was compelled to give today. But it's not just me, right? We all have more serving to do. We have more serving to do individually. We have more serving to do collectively. Our purpose, unlike David and Alvin, continues because we got that breath today and we woke up and we were able to come here. So how do we live this life of purpose? How do we figure out what that purpose is? And when I first thought about this, I thought about people like Harriet Tubman and Dr. King and even David from the scripture. People who had what seemed to be these grand purposes in life. Obvious purposes that lead to breakthroughs in society and our thinking. And I think sometimes when we think about the word struggle, we struggle with that, right? Because we're like, what's my breakthrough? What's my big thing that I'm going to give to the world? And I think sometimes we miss the fact that sometimes it's really the small things that really matter. And as I thought more about it, I realized that Harriet Tubman truly was just an ordinary person. Dr. King was. And David was an ordinary person too. Harriet Tubman was an abolitionist, an activist. Dr. King was a minister who reluctantly took the reins of the civil rights movement. And David was a shepherd. He was a musician who later took down Goliath. They were regular people with the same kinds of struggles and aspirations that each and every one of us have. Regular people like my sisters, Michelle, a teacher who gives her heart and soul to children like so many other teachers do on a daily basis. My sister Rosalind, who just Friday, as a random act of kindness for her birthday, decided that she wanted to feed 60 homeless people. And she cooks food for them and gathers all of her friends and who are here with her today. And they cook and they package and they go out and they serve and they give to people. And as I thought about that Friday, as I sat home unable to go, it just really struck me that that's serving. And those are the things that we are meant to do on a daily basis. Laquan McDonald was a regular person who served. Trayvon Martin. Their loss of life created a discourse around this country, around this world, really, for social justice and better treatment of people. So we serve in so many different ways. We serve actively, we serve passively, we serve even when we have unfortunate circumstances in our lives. Just ordinary people have an extraordinary impact. It's our why, as that Brother Michael said today, right? It's that thing that gives you a spark, and it's evident in your interests and how you spend your time. It may not make you rich or international fame, but it will touch the hearts of people, and it will touch your heart because it's God's way of reminding you that you're on your path. So we can all do something extraordinary. We can all touch lives in phenomenal ways, right? Every one of my Sunday school teachers here touched my life. I can't name all of the people in here who touched my life because almost all of you have at some point. So my thing is, the purpose in life is to grow, is to serve, is to get better each day in mind, body, and spirit. It is to evolve. Don't overthink it. Just go in the direction that our hearts tell us to go in. And it doesn't matter what it is. It just has to be right for you. And it should make you feel good, and it should make you sleep at night peacefully. So let's go back to Alvin. I stood there crying, troubled, and weak. And I wondered, why? But as soon as I sat down and listened to his tributes from family and friends, I concluded that Alvin lived a life of purpose. And it came from the simple things he did every day to serve his family, to serve his church, to serve his community. Purpose is about ordinary people serving, but it's about ordinary people serving every single day. It's the cumulative effect that really gives the impact that we're looking for, right? It's the cumulative effect of what Harriet Tubman did that made her so grand. It's the cumulative effect of what Dr. King did that made him grand, and David the same way. So all of us have that grand potential within us. Amen. If we choose to wake up and if we choose to serve every single day. So my question to you and me is, what are we going to do today? What are we going to do today to serve someone else? And it was interesting, as I was writing the speech, I looked on the front of the program, and the church's mission is a believing community gathers here to worship and scatters to serve, right? So right there was the answer to the question, what is my purpose? My purpose is to serve. That is who we are as a church. That is the spirit that embodies this entire building, has embodied this entire building for long. And that's the spirit that will embody you, and you will walk out and take out into the world as you serve and give to other people. Amen. St. Mark, our community is struggling. Our kids, they are struggling. One of my whys is, why are our kids struggling so much? Therefore, I choose to mentor. And I see them struggling in so many ways. We're struggling educationally. We're struggling financially. We're struggling with health. And we're struggling with finding our purpose. And I think it is our goal to teach our young people how to find their purpose by showing them how we live on purpose. Amen. The good thing is that we've struggled before. And we've always overcome. We've struggled in ways that no other community has ever struggled. And we all sit here standing today, sitting today, whatever we're doing, because we are survivors. And that is the spirit that we must continue to embody in the next generation as we serve them. So I had a revelation that because I woke up, I still have some serving to do. And I believe when God sends a message to one, he sends a message to all. So if you know what it is that you're supposed to do, I would say start now. If you don't know what it is, think about the things that make you say why. Write them down and know that that is what